Hello and welcome to the Interactive Immersive HQ. My name is Marco. I work as a freelance immersive media developer, mostly using TouchDesigner. And in today's video, I want to talk a little bit, or actually show you how to create scenes with animated 3D characters. So how to import them, where to get them, and we can, of course, we will have it all in 3D, and then we're gonna add some camera movement here to our render, and to create something like this. And this is very useful if you have some visuals that you maybe want to showcase in a different way, not just the visual itself. So you can, for example, add your visuals to the walls of a room, and to make the scene more alive, add some characters. In this case, it's a kind of immersive room with some dancing people, but you could also create a setup, for example, for an art gallery where people are just standing in front and looking at the screen which contains your artwork, for example. But in this video, we will build this room here. And the setup is pretty simple actually. So we basically just create some geometries to create walls and the floor. And then we will import the animated characters that we have here. And then you can assign your visuals to the walls, create a render setup with two cameras and move between them. And that's basically it. So let's start maybe first step with checking out where we can find animated 3D characters. So on this website here, Mixamo, you can get a bunch of different characters, and they also have a bunch of different animations, and you can combine them however you want. So it's also for free. So let's say, for example, I want to have this Remy character here. And as you see, when you just choose it, it's just standing there doing nothing. But if you switch to animations, you can just click on any of these animations here, and it will assign it to the character. You can also filter here under search for the kind of animations. So let's maybe look only for dance animations. And you can do that with all the characters that are available here. So you can also choose this woman here, and of course also choose any animation that you want. Okay, so let's maybe get like 5 different characters. So let's start with a woman here, why not? Let's show only dance animations. And if you find one that you like, you can just hit download. And then it will download it to your hard drive. And I'm just going to do that now with a couple of more characters, and we'll skip it for you. So back to TouchDesigner. Let's start with an empty network. And the first thing is we want to build a room. So we can do that with one rectangle. And let's also add an attribute create sub already, and toggle on compute tangents. Because otherwise we will have problems later to assign some of the textures. And then we will plug that into a geometry. So maybe let's start with the floor, and also I will open a second pane here. So you can just go on the top right here and split left right, and then hit that little arrow here to choose the pane type. And I want to have the geometry viewer. so that we see what's going on in 3D when we build our room. So let's call this here floor. And I want my room to be 10 meter by 10 meter. So I'm just gonna scale it to 10 by 10. And we also need to rotate it. So yeah, it's a floor, so that we can place our characters later on top of it. Then next step, we will need another geometry. So you can just middle mouse click on the attribute create. Actually, let's, for the sake of it, let's add a null here, just in case, for the good practice. So this one here will be a wall, and I want it to be, of course, it needs to be 10 meter wide, and let's maybe say 2.5 meter high. And then we also need to move it up a little bit, that it's, that it aligns to the floor. So I'm gonna move it 1.25 up. As you see, now it aligns perfectly with the floor here. And we also need to move it to the side here. So 5 to the side, because our room is 10 by 10, and from the center point, well, it's 5. So there we have our first wall, but we need 2 more. Of course, actually 4, but I will only create 3 walls, so that we can easily look inside and place our cameras later here without any problems. So I'm just going to make 2 more copies here. And the second wall, I also need to rotate. So let's rotate it 90 degrees. The translate, we have to adjust. So this comes here. And then we have to do the same with the third wall. So, and this we also have to rotate 90 degrees. Here we have our base room. And now we can already drop our downloaded characters. So I'm just going to my folder where I have saved them, select them all, and just drag and drop them into the network. It might take a second. And yeah, as you can see, they are way too big. So let's select them all by right-clicking and dragging, and then go to the Xform page and maybe just scale them to 0.005 for now. And they're already way smaller. If you have problems inside the 3D viewer that you can't get close enough or something, you can just press H. This will kind of home the view, and then yeah, it's going to be easier again. So let's spread them apart a little bit here. And we still need to adjust, because I think they're still a bit too big or some too small. And we also need to place them around the room. So I'm just gonna use the translate here to move them around a little bit. Also, she's way too small, so maybe I think the walls are like 2.5 meters, so yeah, I think this looks kind of realistic. Okay, then our breakdancer here is way too small, so we can also scale him up a little bit and place him somewhere in the room. Let's maybe also rotate them so they don't just look all to the wall. Okay, so now before we add our visuals and stuff, maybe let's close this 3D viewer for a second here and add a simple render setup. So I'm just gonna add a render top, a light, and we also need a camera. Let's actually create 2 cameras already, so that we can animate between them later. So just add 2 cameras and also add a camera blend. And in the camera blend, you can connect the bottom outputs here to the top. And we need to specify in the render that we want to use the camera blend only. And also I see my frame rate is dropping already. That's probably because of all the active viewers. So I'm just gonna select them and deactivate the viewers. And as you can see, the frame rate gets directly way better. But actually, maybe just for adjusting, let's so you can adjust the camera manually just by using the translate rotate parameters here, but you can also activate make the viewer active, and then with right click move the camera to wherever you want to have it, and it will automatically adjust all the parameters here. So let's maybe have one here and the other camera more from this side here. Okay. And what happens now? Let's deactivate this again. And now in the camera blend, if you set the type to sequence, you can just slide between them, as you can see here. And we can also animate this already. So let's create an LFO with a very slow frequency, so maybe 0.1. And because our sequence parameter goes from 0 to 1, we also need 0 to 1 values. So let's set the amplitude down to 0.5 and the offset also to 0.5. And now we can just assign this. Let's add a null here for the good practice again. And we can just deactivate the viewer and drag and drop the value here to the sequence parameter. You should see now, well, in the render you see it, that the camera is moving. Not sure why it's not showing in here directly, but anyways. Okay, and let's also add a RGB key after our render and a null. And we have to adjust the light, I think, because now it doesn't really. So let's open the 3D viewer again. And yeah, as you see, the light is outside the room. That's why it's still dark in there. So let's center it and maybe move it up a little bit. And yeah, you can see already that if we put it in front, then we also see our characters here. Okay, that still looks pretty boring though, because we don't have any textures here. So you can now use any visuals and assign them to the walls and also the floor. So let's use a Phong material and just make a copy already. The first one will be for our walls and the second one for the floor. And I have this audio reactive geometric pattern here, which is actually from another tutorial here on the HQ Pro, but I think you can also get the Kotlin files down in the description. And let's just, because it's audio reactive, use an audio file in, but I will leave the volume down. And yeah, this pattern here reacts to the music. Here now you could just assign this directly. Let's say here Phong1 is for our walls as the color map. And then if you assign this material to all 3 geometries. We get it on all walls, but as you can see, it looks very stretched, and this is because the aspect ratio doesn't fit to the aspect ratio of the walls. So our walls are 10 meter wide and 2.5 meter high. Yeah, so that's an aspect ratio of 10 to 2.5 or also 4 to 1. So let's maybe just add a fit here. And we'll just use I don't know, 4000 to 1000. And yeah, leave it to fit best. And now it's not stretched anymore, but I would also like to add a little bit more. So I have this star galaxy vortex visual here, which you can also find a tutorial for on YouTube. And this I also want to have a fit. So let's just duplicate that, add a fit. And this one we just set to fill, so it's going to be stretched. And let's add a composite here, which we set to over. And then just connect both of them. So now let's have a look. Now we have in the background our audio reactive visual with the star galaxy background here. But of course you can use your visuals. And what I also like to do is to make it pop a little bit more. So maybe let's activate this background viewer here. So we can use, after this comp here, middle mouse button and use a monochrome. This will give us a black and white version of this, and use that as the emit map in our material and set the emit color to white. And now all the bright parts are just popping out more. Okay, let's also deactivate all the viewers here. And now we only need a floor texture. So for that, you can, of course, use your own or find something online. And I will just have a look at the FAB store here, which is like the Unreal Engine marketplace. So let's just look for floor. And we have this concrete floor here, or you can use whatever you want. So I'm going to use this cracked concrete floor here. And then I will import the base color, the bump map, the normal map, and the specular map. And all these we can apply to our second material. So first of all, the, where is it? Here's the base color, it's color map, then the normal map, and the specular map we have. And what else do we have? Here you can use this as a height map. And assign that material to our floor. And voila. Let's have a look here. Of course, you can also, if you have the commercial or like the educational version, pump up the resolution here to make it look sharper. And yeah, I think it's a good way to just show your, or have a look at your visuals in a more alive and different environment than just the visual itself. Yeah? And as I said, you can just replace the visuals that I used here with your own. So you just have to assign a different color map and also the emit map here to whatever you want. Maybe one more thing that you can do. It got a little bit messy here. Let me just clean that up quickly, just a little bit. So maybe the materials here. And let's also deactivate these viewers here. Maybe one thing, you can also play around, of course, with the light position and the light color, especially. So if you use, I don't know, maybe something more green, not. Maybe also a kind of color like your visuals, it's going to look even better. All right. So now you have it here as a render and also in 3D world. You can check it out here.
Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you like our YouTube content, I highly recommend you check out the Interactive and Immersive HQ Pro. The HQ Pro is the only comprehensive educational resource and community for immersive design, TouchDesigner, and creative tech pros. In the HQ Pro trainings, we cover almost any topic you can think of, and we go way more in depth than we do in our YouTube tutorials. We have a private group where Matthew Reagan, myself, and our other industry veteran and pioneer teachers answer your questions every single day. If that sounds cool, click the link in the description to learn more. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more free TouchDesigner and immersive content.